Hi, I'm Judy, and welcome to Posture and Back Resilience. This is our featured class format for this month for my Patreon class. And basically what we're going to be doing this month is focusing on what is kind of good posture both for daily life as well as when you're doing different exercises, and building your body awareness of what feels right and what's good alignment and perhaps what's less ideal in terms of posture. And that goes hand in hand with strengthening and protecting your back in day-to-day life as well as when you're doing different exercises. Today we are doing more of an intro class, so I'll be talking about a lot of the common issues we tend to see with posture, as well as different ways that people tend to do certain exercises that perhaps may continue to reinforce those bad habits, and then try to unlock some of those bad habits and teach you the correct alignment as well. Today there's going to be a little extra vocabulary and terminology that we'll be using throughout this month. So if you have any questions afterwards, feel free to message me and I'm happy to clarify anything. Alright, so in terms of equipment today, we'll need a chair and your exercise mat. And just a light dumbbell, 3 pounds, 5 pounds, 7 pounds, it's fine. We're just going to need one today. Ideally, if you have a mirror that you could kind of place to your side, so you can see yourself from the side profile for your posture, that'd be ideal, but I know that's not possible for everyone always. And finally, if you have a pen and paper close by, you could always just pause the video if you're watching afterwards and jot down some thoughts about your posture as maybe some realizations come to you as you actually think about how your body feels. With that, we're going to start with a pre-assessment. So this is just basically we're going to start standing, and you're going to think about your how your body feels when you do this. Yeah, and just bring your awareness basically from your knees on up. So how do your quads feel? Do your knees feel like they're locked? Do your hips feel like they're tilted forward or back? Like so, does your lower back feel tight, or does your glutes feel loose, or do your glutes feel loose? And do you feel, your abs at all? And just keep working your way up all the way to your shoulders. Do you feel any tension in your shoulders, any tension in your upper back, maybe in your neck? And if you're doing this later with the video, you can feel free to press pause and jot down any notes. And now for the class, we're actually just going to take a seat and then do the same thing. Yeah? So have a seat, just sit as if you normally would, and maybe we can do a little experiment even, especially if you have a mirror next to you. Just close your eyes and sit as upright as possible. Like if someone told you to sit with good posture, what would you do? So close your eyes and do that. Do what quote unquote feels right. And then open your eyes, and then maybe just freeze everything, but swivel your head over to your mirror if you have one, and just kind of see what that looks like. Okay? So ideally, you would have your sits bones making contact with the chair, and then a slight dip in the lower back. The lumbar spine is supposed to be a secondary curve, but not too much, yeah? Not like that, just slight. And then your thoracic spine, kind of the shoulder blade area and up, would be a slight curve forward, but not so much that you're doing that, yeah? So a lot of times when I work with people in real life, in person, I'll have them do this exercise, and it is crazy what some of them feel as quote unquote normal. So I have a couple of clients who did this, and they were like this, and they're like, okay, I'm sitting up straight. And I'm like, take a look in the side mirror. They're like, no way. There's just no way. But for some reason, they just, over time, got to start sitting like this, and it felt like normal. And so when they sat like this, it felt like they were actually slumping or arching too much. And they also actually felt their abs working more too, which is a good thing. So I guess I tell that story just to let you know that sometimes our proprioception, or our body's awareness of itself in space, can be a little bit deceiving. It can kind of get off track over time. And so it is good sometimes to have a mirror with you, or if you have like a trainer, someone to provide live feedback about what they're seeing. Okay, so that was our pre-assessment. Now we're going to do a little bit of breathing just to get us started. We're going to start with yogic breathing, 3-part breath. So you're going to inhale to fill your belly, chest, and then broaden your shoulders, and then exhale, you're gonna just exhale all of that out. You don't have to worry about what order, but on the inhale in, think about the belly, chest, and across the shoulders. Okay, so if you want, you can close your eyes, just sit up nice and tall on your sits bones, relax the shoulders, and inhaling through the nose into your belly, chest, and expanding the shoulders, and exhaling that all out while maintaining that upright posture, and inhaling through the nose, belly, chest, and across the shoulders, and exhale that all out. Good, one more time, inhale through the belly, into the chest, and across the shoulders, and exhale that all out. Good, and if you have your eyes closed, you can flip them open. Okay, so next we're going to do some Pilates breaths. So basically for this posture class, I draw a lot on both yoga and Pilates philosophies for helping with posture and mobility. So now we're going to focus on Pilates breathing. So go ahead and take your hands kind of interlace over each other on top of your belly button. And you're going to inhale, and on the exhale, you're going to just kind of have that whole panel of your abs come in. So if you were looking from the side, it just kind of comes in like that. Inhale, kind of keep the abs in, braced, and then exhale, engage the abs even more. Good. Inhale and exhale. So keep doing that with your breaths, and then just bring your attention to your shoulders and see if they maybe started coming up or shrugging or tightening at all. So if so, try to disconnect the two. Good. Inhale and exhale. Good, we're going to do that one more time. Inhale, and on the exhale, really pull everything in. You're gonna keep that in. And now we're gonna do what I call birthday candles. You're gonna go shh, shh, shh. Little shushing exhales, shh. And at the same time, the panel of your abs shh, are gonna come in. Shh. It's almost like you're giving yourself the Heimlich maneuver without using your arms, just with your abs, yeah? So you're gonna do that 10 times. Ready? 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Good, relax and roll the shoulders. We'll do that one more time just for practice. Okay, so just set this up. Remember, we're inhaling and then exhaling the abs in. Hold the abs in as you inhale again. And exhale, pull the abs in further if you can. Inhale and exhale, pull the abs even further if you can. And then now, 10 birthday candles. 8, 9, and 10. Good, and relax. And everyone who's in class live right now, your shoulders look great, your posture looks great. I don't know why you're here. This looks awesome. Okay, excellent. All right, so next we're going to go into mobility. A lot of times the reason why it's difficult for people to sit up straight and maintain good posture is because there's some tightness or some other impingement going on. So mobility is a big part of posture. First, we're going to go over the different motions that the spine is able to do. So when you do, for instance, in a yoga class, like a cat-cow, either on your hands or knees, or sometimes they'll have you do it seated, like we're going to do now. So let's do that together. Exhaling into cat, inhaling into cow. So this rounded cat position is spinal flexion, yeah, and then this arched cow position is spinal extension, yeah. So exhale to cat flexion, inhale to cow extension, and just a couple more times like that. So that is a very common type of movement, flexion and extension. Okay, and then we also can do side bend or side flexion. We'll call it side bend for this class. So let's go ahead and raise your left arm up and then just lean slightly over to the side. Keep anchoring your left hip onto the seat. So that's your side bend, and then other side. So sometimes this can be pretty tight too. And you see I'm trying to keep my shoulders again out of the equation, so I'm not going like this, yeah. Good. And then a couple more times each side. Okay, so that was the second type of movement. The first was flexion and extension, second was side bend, and now it's the twist. So go ahead and let's have you twist first towards your right side. Good. Inhale, lengthen the spine. Exhale, twist from the belly. Inhale, lengthen more from there. Exhale, twist from the chest. And inhale, lengthen more from there. Exhale, twist from the shoulders. Good. And then coming back to center, roll the shoulders out and just kind of loosen that out before we do the other side. Inhale, sit up nice and tall, and exhale, anchoring the hips, making sure they don't twist along with you. Exhale, twist from the belly. Inhale, lengthen your spine, and exhale, twist from your chest, and inhale, lengthen, exhale, twist from your shoulders. Good. And then coming out of that, again, loosening up. So for the side bend and for the twists, you want to be kind of having your spine nice and long, nice and tall, and then doing those motions instead of being like crunched either with a back bend or forward fold, and then trying to do that, because you can actually sort of injure the discs in your back to do that. There's extra wear and tear that's sort of unnecessary and unhelpful. And that lengthening of the spine is kind of the fourth type of spinal motion, which is axial extension. So if you think of your spine as an axis, you're lengthening this way. So axial extension is like going from here to like coming up tall this way. Whereas spinal extension, I know I'm getting a little technical here, is this. Yeah. So I just want you to know the difference. When I say axial extension, I'll also say like elongate your spine. Yeah. But if I say, oh, like try not to extend your back, this is what I mean. Yeah, so try not to do that if I say that. Okay, great. So the next thing we're going to do is just loosen up the shoulders a little bit more, shrug and roll. So ideally, well, not ideally, the fact is your shoulders and your arms are really only connected to your the rest of your body from a skeletal perspective by your collarbones. Yeah, but a lot of people, like it feels like, you know, your shoulder blades are kind of glued to like your upper back. It's just very tight. So you want to make sure that this is not, that this is able to move independently from your spine. Okay. So now we're going to stand up. You can set the chair aside for a bit. And we're going to do a ragdoll. Okay, this is also good for your standing posture. So soften your knees and then just exhale, roll on down. One vertebra at a time, and then inhale at the bottom. On the exhale, use your abs and start to roll up one vertebra at a time. Keep the knees soft, and then the shoulders, neck, and head come up last. Good, and exhale, dip your chin, and then one vertebra at a time, roll down again. So this is called spinal articulation. A lot of times over time, we start to kind of lose the individual like mobility between each vertebra, and things start to move as big chunks. So this is good for getting back control of movement across the different levels of your spine. Good. And one more time. Okay. Good. And then next we'll do another common yoga pose, which is an upward salute, and this one is also very good for telling you about your posture. Yeah, so I confess, I tend to have a sway back like this. Yeah, I'm enunciating a little bit, but I tend to have too much spinal extension, and then my ribs tend to stick out, lack of ab engagement. Okay, that's one of the reasons why I've had like chronic back issues since I was like a teenager. Okay, we don't want that for you. So we want to try to keep your ribs knit in, and then from there raise the arms. And maybe if your shoulders are tight, perhaps like mine, you're not going to be able to come all the way up without doing this. Again, that's one of the reasons why mobility, here in this case the shoulders, is important for posture. Yeah. So go ahead and try that. Good. And then just see if there's any tightness in your back this way, or if you feel like there's too much scooping this way because your hip flexors are tight. Just observe what's going on with your body. That looks good. Okay, and now let's do a standing downward facing dog. So you'll take your chair. You can just put your hands on the chair back. I just have this taller stool since it's more colorful and easy to see. And you're going to hinge from your hips for this. Yeah, and then you often see some version of this in yoga class. Often as an instructor, I'll see people basically bending from their back with their legs straight like this. This actually, because you're not hinging from the hips, you're stretching here instead of really getting any stretch here. So if you feel like that's the case, I don't think that's the case for you guys here in this class live, but anyone watching the video afterwards, soften your knees and then try to get that little secondary curve in your lower back, and then pull your hips back so that you can get some axial extension of your spine this way. Yeah, so this should be a really nice decompressing stretch for your back as well as for your shoulders. And of course for the hamstrings if they're tight. Okay, great. And we're going to come down to the mat and do some things here. The first one is gate pose. Okay, so this one, you're going to align your palm, knee, and foot in one line. So there's actually very little weight on this arm. So if you have shoulder issues, this might be an issue, but for most, I think you're going to be okay. And then the other arm is going to go up here. So I just want to do this one to point out the difference between a side bend like this. So I often see people do this, yeah, which has a certain purpose. But if you're doing it this way, where you're lengthening into a long diagonal, you should feel more axial extension. So your spine's actually lengthening this way. And usually for the students I'm teaching, that's more beneficial than doing more crunching this way, yeah? And then you'll see for my supporting arm, this is important for when we talk about side planks. My shoulder is aligned so that it's rolled out, and the collarbone is just kind of straight here. It's not rolled in here, yeah? So I can use my lats to support my weight here. Okay, great. Let's do the other side, same thing. So just test it out. You know, you can try the side bend gently if you want, and then try the difference with the axial extension and really feel the lengthening of the spine, especially if you've been sitting at a chair all day working or playing piano. This can be a nice one. Okay. Good. Okay, and then we're going to, the last mobility exercise we'll do is the low lunge. Okay, and this one's important. You obviously will see this a lot in yoga classes, and you know, it's basically the runner stretch as well. It's used in a lot of different formats for fitness. For this, what I wanted to point out is I tend to see, well, first of all, what's the goal of this stretch, right? For most people, the goal is to stretch the hip flexor right here, which can be tight if we sit too much, or if we're working out a lot, it can get tight. What I see a lot of people doing is this. Ooh, that doesn't even feel good right now. So I'm doing a back extension right here, and maybe less so actually here. This is actually what I really see. Like this, yeah? So this is still tight here, but you're really stretching this. So a lot of times what's better a way to fix that is just to make this more neutral from the hip up to the crown of your head, yeah? And then you can use your glute, tuck that under to create this pelvic tuck, and that's gonna help stretch your hip flexor more, help isolate the hip flexor. Okay, good. And then try the other side, see if this is tight evenly on both sides or if one side's more tight. And you know, I'm just telling you kind of what I frequently see. You know, there are a lot of different things that people do that I've seen, but these are kind of the common things I see. And you know, this is not meant to be prescriptive or anything, but just kind of to give you an idea of like what things to be on the lookout for, you know, when you're doing these things yourself. So the next section of today, we're going to go over some muscle activation and see how you can activate the important muscles for this month's classes. First, we're going to do dead bugs, okay? So they look like this. I'll just show you the shape of it, okay? And basically, you can join when you want. This exercise is mainly for the abs. So you want to have a neutral spine, And then you're moving your arms opposite here. For most people, if your abs are not like super strong, the tendency is to arch your back, yeah? So then my cue to you for this month's class will probably be to smash bubbles underneath, you know, like bubble wrap underneath your lower back, yeah? So I don't really want you to do like a cat position, but it's just because relative to what alignment I'm seeing, what I need you to do to get into a neutral alignment, I'll say something that maybe overcorrects for that. So, yeah, good, excellent. Okay, so that's dead bugs. That's often used for activating the abs when we're first starting a workout. The next one is a Frankenstein. So we'll actually start seated. We did some of these in last week's workout. So to start, you're going to have your legs pretty much straight in front of you, legs zipped together, and then exhale, roll down one vertebra at a time, keep your shoulders relaxed. And then inhale at the bottom, and with no momentum, you're going to exhale and start to roll, curl yourself up off the ground. Until you can sit up nice and tall. Inhale there. Oops, too much back extension. And then exhale, round again, and then one vertebra at a time, coming down. Good, so keep doing that on your own breath. You're inhaling at each end of the exercise and exhaling at the effort. And then I'll talk about what I commonly see for this one. This one I commonly see that people, especially on the way up, either they're going to use momentum, right? So that's using everything else other than your abs, really. And also I tend to see people's legs float up. Yeah, so if the legs are floating up, that means the hip flexors are trying to take over into the work instead of the abs. So those are just some things to keep in mind. Good. And then after the next one, you're going to stay on your back. We'll do some bridges, and we're going to talk about the difference between a couple of kinds of bridges as well here. So align your heels underneath your knees, and your thighs are parallel to each other. Okay, shoulders are shrugged away from your ears, and just press into your heels, and then come up with your tailbone tucked, and then keep that tuck as you come up and down. So for the purposes of our class this month, we're going to do this kind of bridge where we're aiming for glute activation because, you know, I've talked to some of you about this. It's one of the first things to go when we're like, you know, stuck indoors and sedentary, is our glute activation and strength. So we're going to go for this version. Yeah, so you should be feeling your glutes the entire time contracting. You really should be feeling no work in the lower back. So keep doing this for a few more repetitions. The other version that I see, I'll just demonstrate while you guys continue with that, is the yoga one. Okay, and this is more for actually getting a stretch at the front of the body, and then your back may be contracting a little bit more. So that one I tend to use less just because a lot of people have issues with back extension, just given the structure of their spine. And again, more people need the glute activation. Okay, great. So we're going to move on to clamshells. This is laying on your side, and we're going to focus on finding and activating your side medial glutes. Okay, I call them side glutes, but they're your medial glutes. And they're responsible for this external rotation movement here. Okay, so to start, it's really important that you have a neutral hip. So if I were sitting like this, my hip, it looks like this, and it's not tucked under like this. Yeah, that's what the tailbone will try to scoop under if this muscle gets tired. Okay, and then you're keeping the heels together, and then just rotating the knees wide and the heels wide. And so you should feel the work right here in the side of your glute, and this is really important for posture and hip stability because it's the hip stability then in turn leads to, you know, it's the foundation for your spine, so then it impacts your posture from that standpoint. Good. And then we'll just do a few pulses at the top. So you can do this without moving that top hip back. Once you start moving the top hip back, then this becomes more like a spinal twist and you lose the focus on the side glute here. Good. Let's try the other side. And just Again, stacking the hips on top of each other, like if there were an axis being drawn from the ceiling down to the ground, your top hip and your bottom hip would be in the same line. Yeah, good. And this one also good, it's also good to do it without momentum, so really like just use muscle to lift that leg up even though it feels hard, difficult. And then tiny pulses at the top. Excellent. Okay, so next we're going to go over some bird dogs. Okay, so this one is in tabletop. If your shoulders bother you, just do only the legs. Otherwise, raise opposite arm and leg and and then bring the opposite elbow knee together and then extend them away from each other. So here, you're looking to keep your hips completely stable. I see a lot of times the tilting of the hips to one side or the other, or like a twist. And so then you're taking this away from the abs and glutes, which this exercise should be targeting, as well as the erector spinae, the stabilizing muscle for your back. And then you're taking it away, taking the work away if you're twisting or shifting from those important muscles. Good. And then same thing, other side. Okay, and you're also keeping your shoulders away from your ears. That's important for everything that we do, from push-ups to planks to this exercise, so that you're able to recruit the larger muscles in your back and not just use these upper traps that are very smaller muscles but quite overworked in our current time and culture. Good. Okay, you can do a little child's pose just to rest. Okay, and then we're going to do narrow rows. So go ahead and grab your dumbbell and you're going to align yourself in a tabletop position. You can see my arms are pretty long, so I'm actually in a natural back bend, which is not great. You want to be pretty flat and keep your abs tight. All right, and then just bring that weight back a little bit and then lift the elbows straight up. Torso stays facing the ground for this one. And this is just helping to activate a lot of the muscles in your back, the lats, the rhomboids, all of these muscles that are important for your posture and the resilience of your back. Good. And today we're not so much focused on reps, it's more about just activation and feeling the right muscles working. So let's go ahead and switch to the other side. Okay. Good. And the abs are engaged the whole time. You see there's a little hyperextension in my elbow. I've been noticing that in my videos. Very not ideal, yeah? So if it's hyperextended, my triceps are no longer working to carry my weight. I'm just using my elbow joint, and that's not good from an injury standpoint, injury prevention standpoint, or from a effectiveness of the workout standpoint. So good, and rest. Excellent. Okay, so we now are going to go into the post-assessment part of our workout. Okay, so for the post assessment of our exercise today, we are just going to observe kind of how we feel now after we've done all this work to increase the mobility in our shoulders and our back and our hips, and also activate some of those muscles. So now go ahead and just close your eyes as you take the seat, sit on your sits bones, and then sit up as tall as you can, and in what you feel is good posture. Okay, and then just float your eyes open, and if you have that mirror next to you, just take a look over and see if there's any difference. So a lot of times when I work with people, they say they literally feel taller after our yoga classes or our Pilates classes, and ideally that's what's happening, right? You're like creating all the work, doing all the work to reinforce this axial extension that then by definition kind of fixes these issues, right? Like if you're like this, axial extension can kind of help fix that. All right, so you guys are looking great. The folks who are in class live, excellent, great posture, great. Okay, and then let's also just try standing and seeing if there's any difference as well. Maybe some of you will be motivated to mark your height on the wall before or after our workouts to see if there's any difference if you grow taller or not. Okay, so for instance, right now I feel a lot more engagement in my abs and a lot less pressure in my lower back, like from this, right? That creates a lot of pressure in my case. So now I feel like this is more open, my glutes are more alive, and this is more engaged, and thus this can actually rest a little. Okay. So I hope, and also the shoulders feel more loose. So hopefully you can, have that sense of awareness going forward, especially if you're joining our classes for the rest of the month, in terms of what muscles are you actually working, and if it's working effectively, if you're intentionally using the right muscles for everything that we're doing. So we're going to move on to our breathing and music next. If you're at home, you're welcome to pause the video for a second and jot down any notes that you've observed about your posture during this little assessment intro workout today. And then once you're ready to rejoin us, you can have a seat and then just start taking breaths here. You can try the yogic 3-part breath that we did earlier if you like. Inhaling to the belly, chest, and across the shoulders, kind of expanding that collarbone area, and then exhaling it back. Otherwise, you can also do something like an 8-count breath where you inhale through your nose for 8 counts, and then exhale through your mouth for 8 counts. So you have some options there. All right, and I'm going to get set up for the music next.